Welcome to all my Succession fans out there. We're back. We are talking about the 9th episode, which was titled Church and State. And let me tell y'all, the tissues were ready. They were out tonight. It got emotional. It got messy. The tea was being sipped on because there was a lot of stuff going on. The siblings' mother is attending the funeral and having Carrie and Masha have a moment. And we have my man, speaking of moments, Roman. What happened, man? You were on a high. You were rolling good, bro. Ever since last week, you got your man Mencken running for president. You know, ready for the funeral, just kind of running over. But yeah, he dropped the ball, y'all. And y'all know how it is. Y'all know who I've been talking about the last 9 weeks. Who's my favorite character? Ken had to do cleanup duty, clean up in aisle 5, and he stepped up for Big Brother stepped up there. We'll talk about Ken in this episode because he wants to get dirty with his sister, Shiv, who is going around letting everyone know she's pregnant, but she also wants to run things with Lucas and Mencken. So it's a lot to go over. And I'm so excited to be here with you all. So before we get into tonight's discussion, make sure if you haven't already to like, share, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I always love reading you all's comments on this show in particular because there's just so many different ways to interpret scenes, things I might have missed. So I always love reading you guys' comments. So definitely comment below. And of course, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell too, because we have a lot of content that pops up all the time. So definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell. But listen, all that out of the way, initial impressions on this 9th episode, which by the way, it just breaks my heart to say 9th episode because it means we only got 1 episode left and it's going to be an hour and 30 minutes. I'm going to probably be a wreck, but that's next week. We're here to talk about episode 9. This was another one of the examples of why this show is so great to me. A room full of people at a funeral, 90% of the episode sounds pretty boring to me normally, right? But not Succession, because they find a way to keep you in the way they shoot it, multi-cameras. You see the reaction of the audience, you see the reaction of the characters, and it's just so well put together. And there's so many interactions that I never expected to see, like Caroline and Carrie and Masha having a moment. Like, who expected that? I mean, there's just so many great moments, but the moment that really stood out to me is just seeing someone like Roman, who has been, like I said up top, on a all-time high in the last week and this week, and particularly before the funeral took place. But once he saw his dad in that box, he just broke. And that was a moment that broke me. And we'll get into that tonight. And it's a lot to break down, and we're going to get into it. But before we get into it, my special guest came at the right time. He's been with me on these recaps and these after shows for the last couple of weeks, and he's here again. I'm so excited to have him on. You know him, but just in case you don't, let me introduce y'all to 9 Nerd Yard. Welcome, my man.
Hey, man, what's up?
You know, just
And I thought you were going to have a suit on.
yeah, I underdressed tonight, 9. You know, we had a funeral,
What's
but
going on?
just couldn't get the the laundry ready. So well, we're here, man, talking about this 9th episode, 9. It was something, 9. It was something, man. What was your initial impression before we actually kind of break it down, man? Did you tear up? Did you laugh? Did you have a good time?
My throat was catching quite a bit there. I can't say I like completely teared up, but I was definitely feeling the performances
Yeah, man.
going, and Roman's performance on there. This episode was pretty interesting to
Yeah.
me. Seeing that wave of emotion. So I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot in this episode.
There is definitely a lot, 9, and we're going to break it down, man. I mean, you're perfect timing. I just did my quick intro, man. So we're going to break down the episode.
Said
And 9, I mean, this your initial impressions on, again, how we open this episode. Home's on a high, man. You know, last week, his boy, Mencken, is the president, pending litigations and everything with what went down last week. But he's on a high. He's reading his speech. He's talking about mentioning how Shiv's going to cry. Ken's going to cry. He's just saying the speech in his head, and he just seems to be so cool, calm, and collective. So prior to him walking into the actual funeral, man, what did you think about him in this high? Did you think inevitably he was going to crash down, or did you think he was going to maybe consistently have that emotional high that he was on?
No, I felt something was coming. I didn't think it was going to be like so blatantly just a 180 at that moment. I did feel like a 180 coming. I was just like kind of surprised of the place it happened.
It's so interesting to see him because I think he's been trying to make up for a couple different failures, right? Again, we know that he was technically the last person that at least that we know of. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but he was the last person that spoke to his dad back in episode 3 when he told him to fire Jerry. And just seeing him since that moment, it feels like he's trying to make up for maybe not being as confident on the phone with him, because he was very apprehensive, like, you sure about that, Dad? So it's like now he's trying to insert himself and make up for those failures of his sense prior to even all the other failures he probably had in front of his dad throughout his life. But he's been trying to make up for it, man. And he's just trying, like, okay, I got the present. My dad wanted to make it in, and that's my guy, and it's going that way. So now let me just come home and bring the speech in. But 9, he does not step up to the call, my man, as we'll talk about a little bit later. But the Rava of it all, Ken's ex-wife, the mother of his children, and she keeps popping up. This is the second time, a third week in a row she's popped up, and it's just been escalating, and continuously getting bigger and bigger. I think there's going to be something involved in that next week's finale. She's and rightfully so, she's upset because Ken told her everything's going to be okay. The right person that we feel safe with winning the presidency will win, but obviously we know that didn't happen. And she doesn't want the kids to go to the funeral because there are marches going on. There's tension in the air. People are upset about how things played out. And again, Ken is just told daddy, savior, I'm the hero, is just getting played out. Ken's my boy. You know how I feel about him. 9, but the whole Ken trying to be the hero and driving over there, stopping her, say he's going to get the courts involved, and you're going to have to hit me. Like, Ken, go sit down. Go sit down. What was your thoughts about Ken showing his ass in the beginning of this episode, man?
I think if you remember last episode when we were talking about it, I was like, yeah, Ken is going to be a father for like 5 seconds and then he's going to move on. He didn't even get that. I was like, he's going to say hi to his kids, and then like he didn't even really get that out of the way. And he really should saw that coming, because we seen him kind of make that decision last episode. Like, is it going to be the kids or the ambition?
Yeah, man, it's baffling to me, 9, because number one, it's a bad look from just a parent's perspective. Like, your kids are in the back seat, you're yelling at their mom, you're in the middle of traffic, like you're showing your ass, Ken. Like, this is the bad side of Ken. This is the unhinged version of him when he doesn't have full control, full out in display. But I just have this feeling now that something, again, I don't know, is it going to be like super tragic, but they keep bringing this up, and I don't know. I think we've spoken on it, of him just kind of thinking in his head that he's better than his dad. He's better than Logan in the sense of, I'm going to be there for my kids. I'm not going to be as maybe business hungry, money hungry, but no, the apples fall too far from the tree, I should say. So I don't know where this is going on. I don't know if we're going to follow this up in next week's finale, but it's not a good look for Ken. And I just feel bad for Rava, man, because I could just imagine, number one, being married into the Roy family and all the toxicity that comes with that. But then your ex-husband is just a firecracker. One day he's nice, calm, cool, collective. He's on a high, but then when he doesn't get his way, he acts like this, man. So I don't know what's gonna come up.
And I think there definitely can be some escalation to that whole dynamic. But for me, I think that the tragedy is him just becoming like his father, right?
Yeah,
like that is that's actually what is going to be, and they've already successfully put that together.
Yeah. And he's I'll tell you one thing that he's become like his father is he's getting that he's had the killer moments, but he's starting to find it a little bit more frequently, especially by the end of this episode. So let us know in the comments what you all think of what's going to happen with Ken and Rava and the kids. If there's something big that can be exposed next week, let us know. But speaking of big, Tom's ego is not the biggest right now, 9, at the beginning of this episode, because as we know, last week, this is his moment to shine. He was a part of the most controversial call from ATN with the presidency last week. And if you guys, squint a little, if you pull the picture up a little close, you can see Tom, his name there. Nowhere near as big as Rome and Shiv, and of course, Derwin. Picture, man. Talk to me, 9. What's going on with Tom and Greg? Is he's again upset about the picture? Of course, Greg wanted to grieve and go to the funeral, and Tom. We'll talk about his moment a little bit later, but just initial impressions of Mr. Tom and Greg early in this episode.
He progressing himself in trying to get his face front of the pall bearers. Getting the meeting with the president, letting the president know, like, I was part of that, that decision that made you the guy. That running joke, like, oh, is Greg going to end up on top? I was like, it's starting to feel like he's going to end up better than
reality.
It's going to end up better than maybe a lot of these other people at the end of this. Who knows?
Forget it, because there are definitely some other Greg moments in this episode, but the running joke of him maybe ending up on top, I think, is becoming more of a reality, man. And I'm just throwing it out there, 9. I wouldn't be surprised with the relationship that it seems that Greg and Lucas now have. When he sees Greg, he's like, hey, Greg. And we know there's a CEO vacancy right now if the deal does go through. 9, I'm just putting it out there. Could we see Lucas having Greg be that guy and not Shiv? I'm
Oh
just
my
throwing it out there,
gosh.
man, because we don't know what happened that night. They seem to be bonded, and Lucas likes the way Greg's move. I don't know, guys. Is Greg going to be that CEO? Oh my goodness.
It almost
it a
feels like the show
possibility?
would do that
Oh
just
my goodness.
to serve Shiv another L on the way out, just to be like, oh yeah, no, it's going to be Greg instead, and just Shiv being like, damn, shouldn't have underestimated that guy. But
Telling y'all, man, Greg's someone to keep an eye out for, 9. But talk about awkward car rides, man. Again, I love how the show. Again, this is a day after last week's episode, so literally the night prior to this, they just found out that their sister just turned them in and sleeping with the enemy, but they still have to be, in the car and go to the funeral. And the tension in this car, 9, is something I definitely felt. But we get some big moments in the car, 9. Number one, and Shiv tells everyone she's pregnant. Some of them knew before she even told them, but she tells her brother she's pregnant. And 9, I don't know about you, but Rome, very funny guy, but someone needs to check this young man's head. The comment said was, number one, he mentions her weight, which is something. It's just, come on, Rome, let's loosen up. But then I'm like, okay, that's as far as he's gonna go. He's gonna poke fun at the sister's weight with she being pregnant. No, 9, he goes a step further and mentions breastfeeding and potentially pleasuring himself to that idea. And also, did I forget to mention, they say when she first said it, is the baby mine?
Oh
9,
my god.
Rome is a psychopath, pervertic individual, man. This dude is a loony. What's going on, 9?
I can't come to terms with it.
My goodness.
Because there's
Who
no
comes up with this stuff?
There's no filter there in the car. Great shot. I almost expected them to be like all sitting in different rows of this car. Like if
someone in the front, someone in the middle. Yeah,
right. And just talking to themselves like that. Roman is a freak, man. He needs to chill out. When he was saying like, oh yeah, when he started breastfeeding, like, you better watch. I was like, come on,
man.
Come on.
We talked about it last week briefly. We were both kind of like, okay, what did that scene mean to us as far as when Jess was talking to Greg last week, saying that they felt as though Jess was coming from a position that she felt so uncomfortable about the idea of making the president someone that seems to have a camp that won't support someone like a Jess, a minority like a Jess. So a lot of, and I definitely can see that, and we see that coming true in this scene. But then again, we had my man Ken blow up in front of his wife, or his ex-wife, and his kids, and now we're seeing that again, that bleed into this scene. I know there's the pressure of what's going on with the deal, but there's also him going to his father's funeral, so there's a lot of emotions going on. But man, I want to smack the hell out of Ken when he was talking, calling her dumb and stupid, and it's like, first off, she didn't even want to talk about it. He saw an email on his phone talking about a conversation that Jess wanted to have with Ken about this very conversation, but then he brought it to the forefront. So I'm just curious, 9, what did you think about this? And Jess, again, a very small character, but like a Frank or a Carl, someone that's been in the background but has moments. And whenever she does have, the actress who plays Jess has a moment, she always kind of stands out to me. But what'd you think about this, man? Is this gonna be something to keep an eye out for finale with this whole conversation between Jess and Ken?
I really hope she does still make appearances in the finale. But yeah, I love Jess, and I love that she is the writing on the wall. She looked at like what everyone has done, and yeah, as like the most diverse character in the cast, it makes sense that like Jess would be like drawing the line here. She probably does agree with all the like the protests and everything, and it's like, you know what, I'm cutting my ways with that. Now on the Kendall side, he's losing all of his hearts, his little heart pieces, right? Like he can't see his kids there. His family won't be there support. I mean, his, children and ex-wife won't be there. Jess has been ride or die this whole time.
Since the beginning.
That's like, okay, another little fragment of the heart, right? He's that coldness, or that coldness is creeping in, right?
I agree, man. And to your point, as far as this, how Ken's reacting to her, is it goes to me, and I kind of wrote down that decision of last week is really weighing into. He didn't think what did Roman said, "Oh, nothing's going to happen," and Shiv says something's going to happen. And this decision is now Ken seeing the ramifications of that. Now your kids are affected by your decision. Your ex-wife and your kids are not comfortable with who they chose to be running the country. And now your business, or not you're building the business, but someone that works within your business and has been close to you and knows information and has been a ride or die per se, and now she wants to leave. So this is just, as you kind of alluded to, the domino effect of having that rash decision that he made last week out of emotion to get back at Shiv is now biting him in his ass. So I am so much appreciative of, you know, Rava saying, "I'm gone, I'm not dealing with this," and now Jess, man, it's blowing up in his face, that decision that he went on.
And Jess, like, I don't think there was like ever a complete like promise made to Jess, but there was this overall feeling that from the beginning, Jess kind of had this idea that he was going to be different than Logan, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
he would be like, you know, mixing things up, changing how
Yep.
he does things. But you know, it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to be your uh Carrie or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, there may have even been like a, you know, she probably has like a lot of love for Kendall, right? I feel like
Yeah,
you
you can
can,
yeah.
you know, not
Yeah.
like, you know, a relationship like that, but like, you
Right.
know,
I know what
he
you mean.
walked away, he's like, oh, you're gonna really bring this up today? She
Right. I'm like, you it.
should have smacked him on the back of the
Right.
neck for
Do a
that. Like,
cup in the
he
back of tripped
needed
him or
his ass
something.
whooped just a little bit right then, you know.
I
But
agree, man. I agree. And something you said there too, Nat, I guess I never really looked at it this way. Women that these like a Logan, the woman that was in the business with the wolves was Jerry. Would you say that Jess is the Jerry to Ken in a certain extent? Because she
you
is,
know, I
if I'm not
think
mistaken, I
it's
think she's the only woman within his kind of sphere that we've consistently seen.
right. Well, I think where Jerry plays a lot more of an executive role,
Right.
and you know, and you know, it could definitely have become that situation where just becomes Jerry,
Becomes a Jerry,
right?
yeah.
But oh, Jerry's gone too. Like
Yeah.
Roman losing Jerry, you know, Kendall losing Jess, like these really close women in their lives just kind of like just evaporating out of them just due to their own actions. They
Right.
ain't no one to blame for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, no characters can keep a solid, stable relationship with women, as we've seen throughout the various
Mm-hmm.
seasons. But yeah, man,
Except
shout
for
out to
Connor.
Jess, man. I'm a fan. I'm really excited to see what comes. Hopefully, we get some type of
Yeah,
closure or
I really
something
hope
for her.
she has something going on in the
I agree,
last
man. It's
episode.
time to get into this funeral, man. And everyone, as they say, all the money changers are arriving at the funeral. We have a scene where Hugo is letting Ken know that the numbers are coming out as far as Lucas and the double India numbers. So that bird is out there, which we know Lucas did take the advice. And I guess that was a question that we had a couple weeks ago: was Lucas playing her? Was this fake? Are the fake
Mm-hmm.
numbers fake? But to
Mm-hmm.
test her to see if she can, you know, if she can step up in that way. But no, they were real, and
Mm-hmm.
the numbers are out there. Connor is preparing to do a speech, which we'll get into that. I feel kind of like all the kids got to say something except for Connor. He's always the one that never gets to
And
join
he like
in.
arranged everything
He said,
too,
oh, we'll
but
get to
like
that. We'll get to that, man. I kind of feel bad for Connor. We have the old guard having a conversation. Jerry, Frank, and Carl and Carolina talking about missing the old man and do they miss him a
mm-hmm.
little bit? I always love their banter back and forth. As we get, I don't know, has there been a character that literally whenever she's on screen, whenever she pops up, I'm just like, oh boy, what is gonna come out of her mouth? I think you know who I'm talking about, Nine.
Mm,
The mama, the mama
Big
of these
Mama.
damn kids, Nine. Caroline is someone that whenever she comes up, man, she is just a fireball. I love her character. I don't like her character. I just love the tension she brings to the show. She's
Yeah.
essentially kind of like a Hogan S type of character, just like with a smile on her face when she's
Mm-hmm.
like stabbing you or giving you these insults. The kids are talking to her, and immediately Nine talk about just toxicity when she looks at Shiv, her daughter, who she hasn't seen since her wedding. That didn't go well because she said she was going to be a good mother. First thing she says to her, well, she doesn't say anything. She just gives her a look, and she knows that Shiv is pregnant. And like the way they
I
kind of like
love
talk to
that.
each other about it, they
I
don't
love that.
explicitly
I was
say
just
it, but
like,
they
oh, what just happened
it's like,
there?
yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
What do you think about this character, man? Is this so? Does she tickle your fancy as she does as much as me, the Caroline, the mom?
I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of her just throughout the series, but there's that almost like shock because that's like their biological mother, right? Like,
Yeah, she pushed these kids out. That's their
and
mama.
it just
Yeah,
never
man.
feels like that ever when they're
And
on
right,
screen.
I
You know,
agree.
it's so awkward. Definitely have her traits because if we remember, like, Shiv can do that too. She could just look at like
Yeah.
her brothers and be like,
Yep.
you're lying to me. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you're just gonna lie to me. Come on now.
Mean, nasty woman, man. And I mean, to be honest with you, you need to be that, I guess, when you're the mother of Logan's children. You can't just be a pushover. You
How
can't
do you
just be
feel
a
about
nice,
Carolina versus Marcia though?
as far as like the
Just kind of like dynamic. Like, who do you think is like a bit more ruthless?
oh, Caroline all
Yeah,
day, every
yeah.
day. Because she will stab you in the back and smile while doing it. And Masha kind of does it kind of behind the scenes and tips up. She
Hmm.
seems to there's a moment when she seemed like she was trying to be a loving sort of stepmom at points, but I've never seen a loving scene with Caroline. Every time she's talking to her kids, it's always something snarky or manipulative or trying to get something out of them. So she's the
Hmm.
worst, man. But again, it just speaks to these are the type of women that Logan attract.
Yeah.
Since he just female versions of himself.
Way too gangster.
As everyone's getting in, settled in, all the big players are now rolling in. We have Shiv and Lucas having a kind of a sidebar and about the offering of Macon and allowing him to be the U.S. CEO of their U.S. properties. This is where Shiv is assertive. She says, he's like, well, okay, yeah, about that whole CEO thing, who do you think I should, put in that position? And like I said earlier, she's very assertive. She just the second time or maybe the third time in the season where she's like, that is me. You're looking at it.
Shiv.
Put
Yeah.
me in, coach. Again, I love her bluntness, but I think she's gonna get screwed over, man. She is gonna get screwed over. And literally Lucas is making her, she's doing all the legwork. She's literally
Yeah.
doing all the legwork now. She's got the conversation going with him later in the episode. She's getting she helps him out with the numbers. He's gonna just drop her, bro. When everything's
Mhm.
settled and he buys Waystar. Thanks, Shiv. I appreciate you. Deuces, great. Get your ass in here and run
Yeah.
this company. Talk to me, now.
That there is another just like shift where the siblings just kind of reunite again and they're like, okay, we're gonna just do it our way. We're gonna
If they can make it,
play
yeah.
double agent on everybody else, on Mencken, the president, on Madison,
Take them all down. It's
Hobart.
about the
Yeah.
family, says
Yeah,
Dom
family.
Toretto.
Yeah. Really hope it works out for Shiv, but man, these guys are just not going to be they ain't gonna be good for her. You know
I
what I
don't think
mean?
any of them going to win, Nine.
She
I don't
ain't
know
gonna
if
be
any
good
of
for
them
her.
going to come out on top, bro. And even Lucas, I forgot to mention,
Mhm.
Lucas does brings up the baby of it all. And I don't know if I want to hear this from a mother to be when she's just like, I'm not going to be home with the baby. I'm just going to, pull a
Yeah,
36 hours absence and get right back to it. It's like, man, I feel
yeah,
bad for that kid.
right. Exactly. She's already planning to be Logan.
Exactly. I think
Right.
Caroline, her middle name and her last name is messy because there's a scene now that I want to talk to you about, and everyone in the chat, let us know your thoughts on this. I didn't know it was going to turn out so wholesome, how the end result, but
That was
Caroline,
really
my
sweet.
goodness,
That was so unexpectedly sweet.
prior to the sweetness, Caroline was definitely trying to stir up some stuff, right?
Hmm.
She brings Carrie over and she sees Marsha and she's leading her over there. And at first I thought Marsha was gonna be like she was a couple what was it, episode 4 or whatever, when she like threw Carrie out of the house. But yeah, Nine,
Take her
I
to the
didn't
subway.
yeah, exactly, man. Throwing out like she was trash. But Nine, as we can see on the screen now, she's actually a sweet moment between the
Hmm.
lovers, literally the 3 lovers of Logan with
Logan
the
definitely had
mother
a
and the
type, huh?
your thoughts on the sweetness, man? Was it genuine for Marsha to kind of consult Harry in the situation, kind of the old blood showing the new blood some love?
Really think that there was just a little bit of tenderness there, right? Like she's like, you know, he's in the ground now,
Yeah, he
right?
won't be
Like
grinding his teeth tonight or something like that. I think it was a comment Marsha
exactly.
said.
And it's just like at the end of the day, she's just like, I'm gonna find common ground with these women that like have really the only people that could have possibly shared my type of struggle dealing with
Exactly.
this guy. So
Yeah.
I thought that was like really that was really sweet. Like, I don't think, all my exes are gonna show up at my funeral like
You're
that.
totally right, Nine. I mean, as far as this, Those were his. Those are probably the women or people in general, more so than even the kids, that probably knew Logan better than anyone. A moment I didn't expect to see in this episode, but a moment that was a tender moment that I appreciated between the three different women that have never shared the screen together before. We talked a little bit about Greg and how he's able to kind of snake his way through the chain of power. He somehow gets the go ahead from Tom that he can, since Tom isn't there, as we'll talk about later, he's been promoted to carrying the casket. And 9. For a minute there, I thought that Greg was going to drop the casket for a sec. I know the show wasn't going to get like that levels of absurdity, like the wasabi
really
LaCroix last week. But I'm like, if Greg drops this damn casket, man. What they did do, they dropped a mic. They dropped a nuclear bomb in his funeral, and that is Grandpa Evil, Grandpa Bully, the brother of Logan, who hated his brother, and they had a back and forth from the very first time we ever met this character. And it started off nice. 9. He tells his very intimate story when they were kids, and people got emotional in the crowd about what during the war U-boat, and if they made a sound, they had to be quiet or they're gonna just kill everyone that's on the boats. And it just gave you a little bit of insight. I think we talked about it before, not as far as like the backstory of Logan and how the show is able to weave in how he was raised, like this season 1 or 2 when they're at Connor's house and he gets out of the pool and you see all the whips on his back. And you can understand that he grew up in a very probably domestically not stable home, and little hints like that throughout the series that we gotten from here. And this is another one. It's a pretty tragic backstory, now, as far as, being on the edge of like life or death at that young age. Mm-hmm. So I say it started well 9, but then it eventually pivoted over to him being a terrible man, a terrible person. And let me backtrack a little bit, going back to the sympathy card that he plays for a second, the polio angle that he had, that he went off to school.
The rose reveal. I was like,
speak to it.
So amazing. And probably like, the closest thing to a, prequel events that we will get. Because we've all been wondering, like, what was the thing, his sister, that was always, briefly mentioned, and really felt like more like understanding about Logan. But I was like, oh, okay, just like a little bit more understanding. I was like, but he was still a dick though, like trying to be the antithesis. I really like the way that he said, I tried, right, I tried, and then I don't remember when Logan stopped trying.
Great line.
And I was like, that is that's it right there. That is like, okay, he's at least he stopped trying along the way somewhere, and he made a decision. And that could be like a little bit of, the decision that a lot of the siblings are about to be making too, right? Or
interesting.
They have made like
ties.
That they won't be trying. Or
it's a great point.
That was really great. I need to go back and watch that eulogy again, because I thought
it was a powerful moment, man. Because again, we rarely see Ewan, and when he is involved, it's always something dynamic. Whether it's Greg, them on a 4-hour car trip, talking, or him taking away his inheritance. It was a moving speech, man. Like you mentioned, just taking that idea of like a young Logan from an early age, having to kind of live in that environment, come out on the other side, being blamed for the death. I don't know if that speaks to how he maybe and not allows women to really be that close to him, because I don't know if he, if he takes that and, internalizes it and it doesn't want to get close because he killed a woman that was so close to him as a kid. I don't know if I'm digging too deep on that, but, it just speaks to again, I love how they give us these subtle little cues, and never saying that we agree with Logan's methods, but you kind of have that sympathy card where you can understand someone from that environment, how he was raised, how he had that bear on his shoulder of being the reason his sister died, is something that would shape you to become cruel. It molds you into the man that we came to see on this show. But I love the 9.
Like Citizen Kane moment. I don't know if someone just mentioned that in the comment. Rosebud, and his sister's named Rose, and that's kind of like his opposite Rosebud type of sled, but it's his sister died of polio.
Good point, guys. Good point. Good point. Good call out there. But like I said, it was all sweet and teary eyes. Oh, he's saying nice things, but then that stops pretty quickly here. He calls him terrible, man. He was a cold, mean man, and he was just he went in on him, man. It's who he is. He's just telling the truth of who his brother that he knew when he was good, and when he got to the dark side. So I mean, it turned pretty quickly. But the thing I do want to point out in this scene is that it messed up Roman. It messed him all the way up 9, because Roman, again, at that point, prior to that moment happening and everyone's checking in on, like, when he was saying all the bad things, everyone's like, "You okay, Roman? Yeah, I'm good." And you could just see it in his face. This is just taking all the momentum, all the wind out of his pipes. And this is where I got a little emotional. He's a wreck, man. He looked like a little boy up there, like a little child.
Dude, like
that we saw.
It was coming off of his nose and everything.
I mean, he had to call his siblings up there to help him out, and big brother Ken definitely did. But prior to that, I just want to get your thoughts on that 9, from not only just from the scene, but just from the, like you just kind of alluded to, the performance of it all, man. Like I felt like that was not an actor playing a character, but that was like someone who's
in there,
suppressed in his feelings and his emotions, and the way when he's playing with the note cards and he's looking up and the voice is cracking in and out. I was uncomfortable, man. I felt bad for him. We talked, he's a disgusting, perverted individual, but this is the beauty of the show, is that those human moments that we can all relate to.
The episode was just filled with these like moments just of like people kind of revealing their nature, right? And it rang completely true for Roman. When he's confronted with reality, he's not able to hide behind his jokes for a bit, and actually has to present himself in front of everybody. He's not well adjusted enough to handle. What made my throat catch is when he's like, "Is he in there?"
Yeah, man. Same here. That's the moment where I got, I'll be out. That's when that little tear shed from my eye, man.
Oh man, Roman, you are so sad. I wish things could have turned out differently for you, but man, you're a mess right now, brother.
Yeah, man. It was inevitable. We all kind of knew that it was gonna eventually have this mental breakdown, because again, the jokes of the pre-grieving and just kind of suppressing it all. It finally came, man, obviously at a wrong time, but in some ways maybe the right time. He's officially acknowledging the fact that the Logan of it all is no longer someone that he can run to or lean on, or dad will take care of it. It hit him 9, and my goodness, did this scene play out in such a beautiful way. I think this is an award scene right here. This is when he's going to get that. He's obviously going to be nominated for Emmys, but this, I think, sealed it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a pretty big Succession Emmy season.
The big moment in this scene here was, again, acknowledging who was in the crowd. And I think this moment here is when Mr. Mencken, I think this is when the whole deal of him, and we'll get to the conversation he has with Ken later about like, "Oh, you're going to kill this deal, right? I'll try my best." Wait a minute. Hold on. You're going to try your best? Just last week, it's a done deal. You're going to kill the deal. Now it's to try your best. I think Mencken decided to go the other way with potentially working with Lucas once he thought that maybe Roman was a little bit of his father, because he talked about how him and Logan had their kind of diverse relationship, but we respected Logan. I think when he saw Rome break down like that, that's when he said, "I can't go to business with these guys. I can't do any deals with them." I think the Roman unfortunately killed the deal. Killed the deal he wanted to kill in that moment. And y'all know how I feel about my man Ken. He's a terrible dad. Let's just put that out there. Not the best sibling. I will acknowledge that. But the man knows how to work a room, 9. He steps up for his little brother. He's stumbling. He's reading the notes. He's trying to write stuff down. He's like, "You know what? F it. I'm going to go Lil Wayne, Jay-Z off the dome." And he speaks from the heart. And it started off.
Jay-Z,
it started off, and he is a Jay-Z fan. We know he listens to Hov. He started off a little blunt, very much so, like Uncle was coming in. He was saying he's a brute. He was tough. But then he gets into who he saw his father as, which was he built and he acted. And he goes into this whole soliloquy of like the money and how the money built things and bridges and buildings. And he was a man of action. He's essentially just given over legacy of Logan. Yes, he was mean. He was angry. He was, despicable. He was just someone you don't see a lot of great, bright moments from, but he has this legacy of this empire that he's built. And when you're building an empire like this, I mean, you're going to have to crack some Gregs to make an omelet, right? So what did you think about Ken's speech, man? It won over the crowd. The crowd's going, "Wow."
Sorry, I was like Kendall,
Thank you.
like a
Thank
part of
you.
the episode. I was like, yeah,
L
that's
to the
Kendall.
OG. I mean, he came through, man. He came through.
That
I mean,
comment
that
just made me
kid.
laugh because I was like, oh, what if he did to Kendall? Did a great one. It was like,
Yeah.
the Money Never Sleeps, like, read is good speech, but
Mm,
for eulogy, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was like a very interesting way of pulling it, because yeah, there is, of course, all of those people are there to pay his respect. There's
Yeah.
aspects from the outside looking in
Mm-hmm.
of, yeah, there's that ambition is admirable, right?
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, like, to act on that and like to work through all of that. I was wondering how much of that was really coming from Ken's heart, or
Mm,
rather than him like playing the room up, or just doing like a little bit of damage control from Roman, because
right. Right.
it did feel like, okay, where what does Ken feel about his father really?
Right.
And I don't know if we actually got that there
Mm.
in that speech.
I think he played it well. Again, I'm a little biased because y'all know how I feel about Kim, but I think he plays to the room for sure. He plays to a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of his emotions because he mentioned he is a brute. He was, a mean man, but he got stuff done. But also the line that really stood out to me was how he threw himself into the kingdom. He wore that crown because he says the force that he has, the velocity, the gravitas, all that stuff. He
Mm-hmm.
hopes he has that in him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to be that next Logan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see Shiv's reaction and to all that stuff there. But yeah, man, I think he's playing a lot of different roles in this moment, as far as, again, the dominant figure, the alpha, the next Logan to come in line. He can be a little bit vulnerable, but I really thought that he stole it, man. He did it
Mm-hmm.
again. He had another great speech. It was 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, and now he's back again, man. He's showing he has that capabilities, unlike Roman. Listen, I didn't expect Shiv to kind of, she told her truth on the altar there, as she kind of, goes to a little bit more of the personal side when they were kids, and how terrifying their father was to them when they would play outside and silence. You could just, when she said that, I just imagine Brian Cox doing that. Like, I just saw it in my head when she tells that story. But she
Mm-hmm.
goes into, again, the softer side of the man when she says, sure, he was terrifying, but when you got to know him, there was this warmth to him, which I don't know if we've ever seen that warmth. I'm sure it was there. I'm sure that he did have,
I
an
don't.
emotional moment.
I only want to say this because I think there's a big difference between a warmth coming from him, and
Mm-hmm.
then that them feeling like the sun was shining on him. I think that was the
Mm,
quote. It felt like the sun was shining on you, not really
interesting.
from him, right?
Interesting.
But it felt like, it just felt like a bit warmer there, like.
Hmm.
And I think that's a pretty big distinction, right? Like,
Interesting.
and then that goes with the validation, right?
Yeah.
It's not really
Yeah.
coming from him, but yeah, when it does feel good to have a father sometimes.
The
Yeah.
line that she also, and I love that it came from her, is the relationships that he have with women. She mentions the relationships he has with women, and she says goodbye to my dear world of a father. The love from
Mm-hmm.
Logan, the presence of Logan is worldly. It's felt amongst continents, man. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love that she brought that up, that it was a complicated relationship between women and Logan. He again, we
Mm-hmm.
talked about the reveal of him blaming himself for his sister's death. Obviously, the women of his life, at least the ones that he allowed to get into his close circle. And yeah, man, I love that she brought that up, because even their relationship was complicated, obviously, from her being a woman. He said many times, there's been many moments when he brought up her gender and how that holds her back and clouts her judgment sometimes. So I love that Shiv acknowledges that moment there, man.
I
It was a
love
good
the
speech.
quote of he couldn't fit a whole woman in his
Yeah.
head. I was
Yes.
like, yeah, kind of
Yes.
that. That's a very interesting way of putting it, but
Yes.
yeah, I could see that. That was
It's
a good
great,
quote.
man.
That was
It's
a
like,
good one.
damn, back to back to. I mean, listen, man. When my man Armstrong was writing this episode, I think of that GIF, Hans Zimmer making the Interstellar score and the piano's on fire. Like I can just
Right.
see Armstrong's just writing these lines, man. The man
Right.
pen is
Yeah.
on fire. But speaking
Mm-hmm.
on fire, Connor, man, my man can't get a damn hi, goodbye. He can't even get on the altar and say, thank you guys for attending today's. They didn't give him a time. I know Shiv said earlier when she read his little thing that it would have probably caused some ruffle some feathers, but he couldn't. Connor couldn't just say bye, Dad. As you said earlier, he set up this whole funeral, man. He couldn't say a word, not
But
one
thinking
word.
about like what was probably written, just knowing the speech that he gave the night
It
previously
would have
for
been bad.
these,
Yeah, it would have
the
been bad
Godheads
for
are
sure.
coming.
And for everyone watching that's joining us live, I'm going to probably put it in the chat a little bit later. But everyone watching this replay, who had the best speech? Ewan, Ken, Siobhan? Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know. And we see Ken getting the congratulations, or not congratulations, but I'm sorry for your loss, but also congratulate him because he had the best speech. And Mencken being one of those people that says, excellent job, really good job. And he says, all right, thank you, Mr. President. Can we talk a little bit later? Yeah, we'll talk to you. As Hugo lets Ken know that the whole move is being had between Siobhan and Lucas, making the CEO, which means that the deal won't be killed. So it's like they never have a moment to actually process a win at any point, especially at the funeral. They're just putting their dad to rest, and you got to get right back to business, man. So I just love how the show just keeps the pressure on these characters. They never have a moment to reflect, man. We have Shiv having a moment talking to Frank and Carl about just was Logan a bad guy? And like a good person in this position would say, Frank and Carl were like, he was a salty dog, but he was a good man. I think they were being nice to an extent. But we also have Masha having a very intimate moment with Shiv. And they've always had a very kind of hot and cold relationship, more so cold than hot. But she tells her that, I loved your dad. He broke my heart. I know he broke you guys' heart as well. So again, I didn't expect this much sympathy from Masha in tonight's episode, but she was very sympathetic and very understanding. Not that she's been like cold, like extremely, like she's not their mother, but she's had her moments where she's kind of kept the kids out, especially when Logan was sick in season 1 and didn't let them see him. But just your thoughts on those scenes, man.
And saying, was he good? And they say he is what you saw is what you got, you know what I mean? And yeah, Shiv hasn't seen the best of him, right? So that was, if that's what I got, then I can't really say he was, right?
Right.
And I thought that was like one of the moments I was like, wow, that's okay. She really needs to dig deep about like, okay, did I really like my father then? Like, or if I'm going to have to go to other people even to figure out if he was a good guy.
And we also pivot over to, again, at this point in time, you think that these kids would be maybe growing closer together. They're realizing how close life is to ending at any point, at any time, and you can be at the highest point of your career and fall and have your largest fall. But we have Ken, man, going up to I love this line, by the way, 9. As we have Ken going over to Hugo, and he's talking about, hey, Hugo, I want this deal to be dead, man. We need to kill this deal with Lucas. And Ken's like, you know what? I'm going to, after we kill this deal, I'm going to be the king. And Hugo, I need some dogs. And Hugo says, woof, woof.
Woof, woof.
Come on, man. I'm loving it.
You can come with me.
Yep.
But you will be a dog.
Yep.
And the scraps on the table will be millions.
Yeah, man.
Woof, woof.
That just goes to show you, man, there's no time to grieve in this family, man. Things, the play must go on. I love that line. Again, we're just seeing the beginnings of the war of alliances taking place. I love that line so much, man. I mean, he's got a roster so far, 9. I mean, so far, Ken, if everything goes his way, which I don't think any of these players are going to win besides Greg. Right now, Ken has Colin security, who's protected his dad all these years. It seems like because when they had the small conversation, Colin didn't like it, but he was like, yeah, I'll work for you, kid. So it seems like he has Colin for his security. Now he has Hugo, someone we know that works that side of the business and had done a good job at doing so. I don't know. I think Jess might be gone, but I don't know who else he's going to pull on his team, man. But he has a nice little roster. more so than
Ken,
Rome, because Rome has no one right now. Rome's the only
right.
horse that doesn't have any people to back him up.
Ken is an outright threat right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was just like a very determination in his eyes. And I love the cinematography in this show,
yeah.
but like there's this moment where he's just watching people like just fold up the chairs, right?
Mm,
And I don't
yeah,
know that, and he was just like very observant about everything, and
yeah,
it was just that really quick shot of just like him watching the people pack up the chairs, and then him being like, "All right, time to move,
yeah,
time to make moves,"
yeah,
and
yeah,
I really appreciated that. I was like, "Yeah, he's focused, he's ready to go," and
yeah.
I'm really excited to see what comes out of that.
Me too, man. And just to even go back for the whole Colin of it all, I think it is smart on his part to recruit Colin, because we all know when it comes to what actually happened with that kid that died in season 1, Colin was the one that
Mm-hmm.
covered it up. So he
Mm-hmm.
knows Ken's darkest, essentially, at least from an audience, that's the darkest thing we've seen Ken do. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a smart idea to recruit the guy. It's kind of that mafia, Goodfellas situation. You keep your enemies close, man.
Mm-hmm.
So smart move on him to recruit someone that has all this dirt. But getting to the dirt of it all, let's just wrap it up, Nine, with the conversation at hand going on at this wake, as we have Mencken. He's the situation between the kids, or at least right now, Ken is like, all right, man, I had a good speech, Mr. President. Things are looking good. Can we work together? Can we kill this deal and do business together? And then Mencken says, yeah, I'll try. I'll try. And
We'll see. Yeah.
Nine, it was almost like a clown show, because we get Greg comes out of nowhere. Hey, Mr. President, how's it going? My name's Greg. I'm working at ATN. And then in comes Connor, goofy ass. Hey, Mr. President, how are we doing? And then Shiv
Right.
comes in and steals him. I was hoping that Kim was like, damn it, to like yell or something.
Right.
But it was just so funny watching this political scheming and everything going on. Shiv comes in, takes the president, or soon to be president, pending litigations, takes him to her man, Lucas. They have a bit of a conversation. We talked about it a couple weeks ago now. And Alexander Skarsgård is such a great actor, because when we see him, always seem to be on point. But
Mhm.
he's kind of cracking at the beginning. He's kind of stumbling over his words. He's talking over Mencken the whole time. I'm like, dude, shut up. Let him
Mhm.
talk. But I guess it worked, as we'll talk about later. But he's definitely dropping the ball. Shiv's kind of looking at him like, dude, just please shut up right now. But
Mhm.
when he saw that he was kind of losing the conversation, he threw in an offer of the CEO. And I think that's where we talked about that the whole Roman dropping the ball was the one red flag. But then obviously that kind of thing went into his head. I can't do business with them, but I might be able to do business with this
Mhm.
gentleman. Your thoughts on the conversation between Tom and Shiv?
Yeah,
Let me know how
Tom
you feel about all that, man.
figured that out. I mean, he like again, it was just hours before that he
Mm-hmm.
found out that she was pregnant in the
Yeah,
whole
just
like
yep.
grand scheme of things. So,
Right.
and he been going, working or whatever. He been tired or whatever. Um, and yeah, Tom wants to be with Shiv. I can see that, right?
You think he still
And
wants to be with her?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Were you surprised by the level of sympathy that Shiv gave him when she allowed he it's a really nice moment again, between the two, as far as their how toxic they've been the last few weeks and throughout the season and throughout the show. But Tom has a moment to break down. I don't know if we've ever seen him break down like this emotional, and never really understood the true, if he really did care for Logan. Like, he told Shiv something pretty pivotal, where he was the last person to see him when he was passed away in the
Mhm.
bathroom, and he didn't say goodbye to him, and he feels bad for not going to the funeral because of this tension between the two. And Shiv takes that as kind of an apology, because he does say sorry, and she allows him to go back in their place. So the question I have for you now, when it comes to the battle next week of Shiv, Lucas, Mencken versus, right now, it seems like Ken and Rome, but I doubt that friendships and brotherhood's going to stay strong. But do we see Tom and Shiv coming out on the other side, Nine, after all the stuff we've seen through the show, but especially these last few weeks?
That's hard to say because again, I think there is definitely compassion being shown all around in this episode, but since they're all playing the game,
Yeah.
really, she could have been like, I don't think you need to be here for this right now. You might be getting in the way of what I'm trying to accomplish right now.
Mm.
So go home, go home. But yeah, like right there, Sarah Snook acting hell. Like I can only see a compassion in on her
Yeah.
face, looking at him very lovingly, like very concerned. And
Yeah.
if that's that's what I'm picking up on. So I think that she's gonna. I think they could patch this all up again.
Man, that's
So
a
I
woo.
really do.
That's a tough one, Nine. I don't know, man. There's some hateful things. I don't know if they. I think you're right. I think Tom does want to be with her. I think he does love his wife, but I can't say the same for Shiv, man. I really don't see. Like you mentioned, yeah, there is compassion. I think she likes him, but I don't know if she loves him per se.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out next week. But as of right now, they seem to be at least working on the same side. But when
Mm-hmm.
push comes to shove, we'll see how that plays out. But as we kind of pivot towards the end of the episode, his big brother kind of comes at him, lets him know he dropped the ball. Big brother tells him, "Yeah, you messed up, little bro." And he's like, "Oh, hold on, man. Can you like, no, you messed up." He calls it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
He needed that truth serum. He wasn't holding back. He said, but he lets
Mm-hmm.
him know in this moment, we're going to war, and we're not going to war with just anyone. We're going to war with our own family. He lets him know that Shiv and Lucas are working together to get the deal back together. And right now they seem to be, like I said, understandably so, to be working on the same side. But I love how Ken was, again, the killer Ken was like, no, bro, you effed up. And I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
sugarcoat it. It was pretty bad. You made us look
Yeah,
bad. You killed the deal with Macon,
Megan. Yeah.
essentially what he said. He said, I should have never let you talk me into it. But here we are. We made the bed. We must lay in it. And now they're ready to go to war. And he said, it's going to be tough. He said, listen, little bro,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get my hands dirty. I just need to know that you're going to be on my side when it gets to that moment. So
Yeah.
siblings fighting is going to be a
I
mess, man.
did appreciate that
The
because
honesty of it
like
all.
right. Yeah, that was that was good. Like again, it was just like vibing right off of like Kendall's ambition and how determined he was. Just like I don't really care about your feelings right now. Eating meatball burgers. We're gonna be eating meatball burgers next episode. So
Yeah.
you gonna be here or what? You ready to do it? So
Yep.
uh beautiful. Yeah, beautiful beautiful acting. Like
Yeah. Across the board, man. As you just alluded to, Shivs gets the call. I don't know. I think it was more so less of Manson's lack of confidence in himself and pitching this idea. I think it was more so than Roman dropping the balls. So essentially, to wrap up the episode, we have Lucas calling Shiv and telling him it's a yes. The deal's going to be in place. We're going to be I'm going to buy Waco. We're going to be working with the president. I think Shiv's going to get the short end of the stick, and Greg's going to step in. But again, what I'm going at is I don't think it had anything to do with Madsen and his speech to Mencken earlier. I think it had to do more so with Rome dropping the ball than anything.
mhm,
But speaking to Rome, man, wrapping up the episode 9, Rome leaves. Carl is playing this video. It's going viral that
yikes.
he dropped the ball. It's all online. The tears are online. But Rome walks out, and finally, 9, I've been talking about it for weeks, that shot that was in the trailer of
Mhm,
him in the middle of the streets and people rioting, and we finally see that. And he is going down this path of like destruction where he just wants to get, we know he does the thing where he always has his dad lingering over him of being a screw up, and the whole video that kid sent him a couple weeks ago of him being a screw up. But now he wants to feel it emotionally, physically. I Someone mentioned the cops shooting him. I thought someone was going to actually beat his ass a little bit more when he's in the streets being disgusting to those people marching in the streets. He's calling them out, hops the fence and bumping into people. It was a pretty intense
mhm,
ending, man. What did you think about this ending and what it could potentially mean for Rome moving forward? Is he just completely off the rails? Is he just gonna he knew he messed his opportunity, his 15 minutes of fame, he let it squander, and he's just now on a path of destruction? I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, the whole taking prescription pills, and is he gonna go down that path of
mhm.
taking his own life? Like, what do you think about this ending, man, and what it could mean for Rome?
I mean, pretty crazy. And it was a pretty great allegory or like, everything that's happening around Rome here is his mindset. right?
This chaos.
Like this chaos that's him, and it's all of his own making, right? Like this is
Yes.
happening literally because of
Yep.
him, right?
Yep.
And it's again like one of those episodes where like we're seeing him confronted with reality, right? And he's not able to handle all of that.
Mm.
Uh, and I thought that what was so interesting is because when he was knocked down, he was beat up a little bit after, like, just lashing out at these people. They tried to help him up,
Yeah,
and
someone did
then
was trying
he
to be kind.
lashed
Yeah.
out at them again,
Yep.
right? So Rome is not in a good place right now.
Yeah.
Very scary to see what is going to be happening
Yeah.
in the next episode, how he's going to be moving. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a thing where, like, we're going to get another funeral, right?
Mm.
uh but Roman, it's crazy because, like, Roman, when Logan was alive, was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I was like, oh yeah, no, he's always been a piece of shit, not
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing it a lot clearer now, and it's a lot more on the forefront. And it's hard to feel bad for him.
Yeah,
It's really
it
hard to
really
feel
is,
bad for him.
Nine. Yeah, it really is because, as you perfectly said, this is all his making. Last week Shiv told him, "Oh, nothing's gonna happen," or he's saying nothing's gonna happen. We just created good television, and Shiv said, "Something's gonna happen, right?" And it is, man. He's the world. I mean, he doesn't care about the world clearly, as he said last week, but it's his world is crumbling right in front of him, man. Again, just from
Hmm.
literally 1 week, or not even 1 week, but the day before, in the chronological order of the show, he just had his horse in the race win. He controlled and manipulated the country essentially. He's about to tell his speech at his father's funeral, and then all came crashing down once he saw his dad in that box, because it really
Hmm.
puts things in perspective. You can be this, as Shiv said, this world father. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, we're just people, and we're in a box. We're just in our bodies.
Hmm.
Not get too philosophical or anything, but these are the temporary bodies, and it's
Hmm.
limits to this. So it puts things in perspective, man. Of you're here one day and you're gone the next, and right now, man, it seems like the path he's going on is on the path of destruction, man.
And again, yeah, alluding to that fact that he couldn't actually enter the mausoleum.
Yeah,
He can't actually get to that place where he's seeing his own demise, or like seeing the demise of his father. That, like,
yeah,
this shit ain't forever, right?
right,
And
right.
oof,
Yeah, man, it's a good stuff, Nine.
uh,
Before we wrap it up, man, I know you said you didn't get a chance to see the trailer, but from everything I'm hearing about this ninth episode or 10th episode, the finale, it will be targeted for an hour and 30 minutes. And I don't want to give too much away from the trailer, Nine, but it's going to be tense. There's a
mm,
lot of hallways, people walking really fast.
mhm,
you know, uh,
yeah.
there's some tension going on. There was someone yelling in a trailer. I won't say who, but it seemed to be a yell of like anger.
Okay.
It's going down, Nine. So if you were to put your theory hat on before we wrap up the breakdown portion, then we'll spend a little bit more time with the live audience before we wrap it up for the night. Putting that hat on, Nine, who's coming up on top? Is any of the kids going to be the succession? Are they going to all work together at some point? Are they going to kill the whole, not just the deal, but their relationship, and they're going to end up like Logan and Ewan? Like, what do you anticipate happening? Is there a death next week? Is it a happy? I know it's going to be happy, but talk to me, Nine. What's happening next week's 2-hour finale, essentially?
I'm usually pretty good at, like, at least forming a hypothesis about the ending, but I have no idea. Like, even with my tinfoil hat on, I all I can really say is that I don't think there's going to be a death, right? That's literally the only thing that I think I don't think that will happen. But whew, what could possibly happen?
Well,
I don't
just on
know.
simple terms, do you think the deal's going to go through as far as Lucas
Okay, will
buying
the
Waystar?
deal
Do we
go
see that
through?
happening?
Will the deal go through? Yes, I think that the deal will go through.
Mm. So they're
Worst
going to
case
lose their
scenario
company. They're going to lose their
is
legacy.
that they kick everybody out.
Mm.
Mencken and Mattson are the new people
Running
working
Waystar.
together, and all of the no one is the successor, right?
Right, which is
And
sad because that's
someone else gets it,
yeah,
like
because
completely out of
their ego.
yeah, right. But yeah,
Wow.
worst case scenario, Logan's ghost is sitting in the office chair, and business just goes on as
It's all a
usual.
dream. It's
Yeah.
been a dream this whole time. This has been,
I
they're
have
gonna
no idea.
pan the camera out and we're gonna see Greg sleeping after having a night with the Discussing Brothers, and it was all a dream.
Right.
This whole thing. Talk about the Citizen Kane of it all. But yeah, man, I don't know what this is. Not a show where it's like, oh, it's gonna go this path. They go so many different ways that we just don't anticipate. But I think you're onto something. That I do not see the kids being the successor of their father's legacy, because they're not serious people.
Mm-hmm.
And their incompetence and their inability to put the emotions aside and get business done is going to bite them in the ass. So I think we're going to see all of them turn on each other. And while they're turning on each other, the deal's going to happen. And Waystar is going to be owned by Lucas. And maybe Tom and Greg are going to turn on the kids and stay with Lucas and run business with Lucas. And it's not going to be a happy ending for any of the family, of the Roy family. So that's a meaty episode, man, that we're going to be getting. And it's I think it's going to be like a lot of the drama, the electricity throughout the scenes, things moving quickly will be like the first hour. And I think the last 30 minutes will be like the come down of like whatever the results are. If they win the company, lose the company, we talked about last week, we might get a time jump of 5-10 years or whatever. And the company's not even called Waystar anymore. And like the whole legacy that Logan's created is just like a thing in the past. So
Tom and Shiv in the trailer park.
Yeah, Tom with their kid. Man, I don't know, man. I'm excited, Nine. But wrapping up this breakdown, but staying on live for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you guys for watching the breakdown portion. We're still live. So again, if you want to join us on next week's finale, definitely join the live party. But before you guys leave this video, share, comment your thoughts on the episode, me and Nine's commentary, like the video, subscribe to Nine's channel, and we hope to see you guys next week in the after show breakdown. So catch you guys in the next video.